Alright, I know what you're thinking. This man finally realized he's not cut out to be a gaming channel. No! I will never give up on that dream. But then I realized, I can just do whatever I want on this channel. So now I'm just changing it to a miscellaneous channel. What a great idea. Anywho, I am gonna talk about Netflix's The Dragon Prince. I watched the show, I think a day or two after it came out, and I also ended up rewatching it. So I have a lot to talk about, and damn, this show is lit! This show is actually really good. It's from some of the makers of Avatar, and I'm gonna try to minimize comparisons to this show with Avatar, because I feel like comparing it already to Avatar isn't fair for it. And I'm gonna treat it like a standalone show like it already is. So yeah, let's get on with the review. Okay, before we start, I just want to give out a spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the show, I will be spoiling important plot points and details. So leave and watch the show, damn it. It's a very good show. It made me do this review. It actually made me do something in my life. That's how good it is. You should go watch it. It's on Netflix. If you don't have Netflix, I'm pretty sure it's online somewhere. I don't know if I should be promoting this, but, just watch it however you can. On with the review. Again. Alright, let's make a quick recap of the story. I'm probably going to do it in like 30 seconds just to keep time short. Honestly, I'll just do it in 5 seconds. The story is literally the hero is just trying to keep peace within the world. That's pretty much the story. There's so much more depth than that, obviously, but if you wanted me to give you the quickest recap, that's the quickest recap out there. It's just them trying to bring peace. Obviously, I'm assuming that everybody that's still watching has seen the show and they know what the story is, so I won't go that in depth with the story. Anywho, so I want to touch on the genre of the show, which is fantasy adventure. And I think this genre is a really special genre. It has so much potential because, let me give you a few examples. Let's look at like their previous work, Avatar, The Last Airbender. For other examples, Game of Thrones. There's Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, and even Pirates of the Caribbean, if you don't include the 4th and 5th movies. What these series have in common is that they all have one overarching story. So it's really cool to follow like the characters and the story and to see how each specific aspect of the story and the characters develop. And it's like one immersive journey. And I think Dragon Prince capitalizes on its genre very well. It does so much world building in season 1, and that's something else I want to talk about is the setup of the show. And damn, they do so good with setting up the show. They do so good with setting up the future seasons. There's so much potential with the show. I'm super excited to see where it goes from here. And they do a really good job of setting up the stakes of trying to bring back the egg to Zadia. And they also do a really good job of setting up the stakes of the characters. Each individual character, such as Callum and Rayla. There's specific scenes, such as when Callum is trying to decide, should he come and fight for his stepdad, King Harrow? Or should he just leave and try and bring back the egg to Zadia? And I thought that scene was really cool. It shows a sense of inner conflict, which is what I really liked about Rayla, because there's so many scenes of Rayla and her trying to deal with inner conflict.
Is that what humans think we are? Bloodthirsty monsters?
No, it's not that. I mean, I have heard stories, but I'm sure they're just stories. Horrible, awful stories. Oh, look at that, we're here.
And this specific journey of trying to bring back the egg to Zadia has so much potential and so much stakes for Callum and Rayla specifically.
This is a journey of redemption.
We're in this together.
Dragon Prince Season 1 is everything a Season 1 should be. It sets up the story nicely, it sets up the stakes nicely, and it even sets up the characters very nicely without revealing a bunch of background details for the characters. if you look at shows such as Avatar or Game of Thrones, their season ones are so good because there's so much setup with the characters and the story that it sets up for one or even multiple storylines that form a cohesive or interlinked plot, and it becomes really easy to form an endpoint in the series. The reason these storylines work so well, these fantasy storylines work so well, is because it's just one storyline throughout, or like multiple, but it's all cohesive, it all fits together. So therefore, as the seasons progress, the viewers are more invested in the story, they're more invested in the characters, they want to see how the characters develop with the ongoing scenarios. And I think Dragon Prince plays off this really well, and their setup, too good! Too good! Their setup is too good. That's all I have to say. Honestly, I don't even need this entire review. I could just sum it up by just saying too good, because that's pretty much what the show is. So in the end, if you didn't get what I was trying to say before, I was basically just saying that the show does a good job setting up for future seasons. And the potential is there. I really see the potential in the show and for it to be really great. And you can see that with the storylines season 1 has produced. You have the main trio trying to return the egg. You have Lord Viren's rise to power. And you have a really interesting storyline with Claudia and Soren's quest to retrieve the egg and bring it back to Katalis. And the reason why it's so interesting is that there's so much potential for moral conflict between these two characters, because I'll probably get into their characters later on, but you have Claudia's task to prioritize the egg over her own brother Soren, and then you have Soren's task to kill both the kids of King Harrow, Callum and Ezrin. And this specific storyline has so much potential for future conflict and more character development between these two characters. And it's going to be really cool to see how these two characters develop from here on out. So, to summarize, again, because I feel like I tried to conclude 3 times already, the Dragon Prince Season 1, the setup is fantastic. And the character setup is also fantastic. I feel that falls under setup too, but whatever. I don't know how to review. On to the next topic. Okay, let's talk about the show's biggest strength. The characters. And we'll start off by talking about my boy Callum. So Callum is like a mage, or he's not a mage at first. At first, he doesn't even know what he is. He's trying to be a sword fighter, but he's not very good at it. But he's very artistic, and that translates well into his magic abilities, where he draws runes in the air and stuff like that. So when he becomes a mage, he finds some sort of significance in his own role as a person, and that's really cool to see. He's a really interesting character. He's quirky, he's funny, but it seems like he has a lot to learn. But the potential is there. You get hints about his backstory, and it seems pretty interesting. And I'm interested in seeing where the show takes his character from here. Next up, we got Callum's stepbrother, Ezrin, who's like the innocent child of the group. He's kind of just there to tag along. He doesn't really have that many character moments in the show, but he seems really mature and smart for his age. Like, there's some instances where he decides to side with Claudia, or sorry, not Claudia, what am I saying? He decides to side with Rayla instead of Claudia for when they discover the dragon egg, and there's a whole showdown based on that. And also another scene where Callum makes the call to take the dragon egg up to the roof of the castle himself rather than entrusting it to Rayla, which is a really smart decision because for a kid, it's really easy to manipulate a kid and stuff like that. And Ezrin seems to be aware of the scenario and the situation, so it's really cool to see how smart of a kid he is.
I'll take you to the roof.
Next up, we have one of them, personally my favorite character of this entire series, Rayla. Damn, this character is actually really cool. I really like how they wrote this character. She has a lot of internal conflicts based on her like ideology and just her character in general. And to see her character grow throughout the series was really fun to watch.
Just take the dagger. Don't hurt me, please.
I'm not going to hurt you. And I'm not going to steal from you either.
She's sarcastic, she's probably one of the most competent members of the group, and she's really quick thinking. And some of my favorite moments of the series are the character moments involving Rayla, and that focus on her kind of backstory and just her ideologies in general. For example, when they were at the Winter Lodge, the scene involving the General Amaya, I think her name was, and the forces of the Breach against the main trio was really interesting to watch, because you see Callum make a statement about Rayla being a monster because she's an elf, and you can really see in Rayla's expression how it's like directed, that it really hurt her, and you can see that she's trying to be a better person herself. So her character development in this series is really going to be interesting to see, and how it plays out.
That you are a monster.
And I know I keep saying the main trio, but it's actually a main quartet, because we have Bait, who is like Ezrin's pet thing. I don't really know. I forgot what the species was. But yeah, he's kind of like the Momo of the group, and I believe he will come clutch in certain situations in the future. Along with the main characters, you got the main villain, Lord Viren. And he's probably the character whose backstory I'm most interested in, because there seems to be so much history surrounding him and his decisions, and I feel like there's a lot of story to why he is the person he is right now, and why he hid the dragon egg and said that it was destroyed. So I feel that Viren has also, I keep saying potential a lot, because that's what the show is, potential. But Viren has so much potential to be a good villain.
You're a monster. You're mistaken. I'm a pragmatist.
And his introduction to the series portrays him as a very normal person. Like, you don't really get a glimpse of any evil within Viren in the first few scenes that show him. And as the series progresses, you begin to see that Viren is very manipulative. Like, he's kind of like the little finger of Dragon Prince. And that's another thing. I feel like Dragon Prince is inspired, or like at least a bit inspired by Game of Thrones.
Winter is coming, eventually.
And it shows. And it shows in characters like Lord Viren, who's very manipulative in trying to get what he wants. You see him manipulating his kids, Claudia and Soren. And you see him even manipulating people like General Amaya into trying to make her think that what's happening right now isn't what Lord Viren already wants.
The princes come first. Finding them is absolutely the top priority of the Kingdom of Catalis.
So I believe that Viren is going to be the one that's going to be pulling the strings for the rest of the story throughout the future seasons. And then you have other secondary characters like King Harrow. Yeah, he's dead. I don't know if you guys know, but yeah, he's dead. So if you guys kept watching after the spoiler alert, he's dead. I'm sorry, but he dies. And there's theories that he's still alive, and I might make a video based on all these like fan theories. But I can believe that. I believe he's still alive. There's like a theory that he's like in the bird. They switched his body with the bird. And if that is actually true, that'd be pretty cool. And I don't know, but maybe. Who knows? I might just make a separate video on that. But that's pretty much King Harrow. He's just dead. But he's also another person whose backstory I'm very interested in. You don't really get much about him, but hopefully they do some flashbacks in the future season. The next characters I would like to talk about are Lord Viren's kids, Claudia and Soren. And I talked about them before, about their moral conflicts, but they're basically, in this season, the comedic relief. I mean, you have the main trio who also has some nice comedic moments, but Claudia and Soren have nice chemistry as brother and sister. You really believe that they're brother and sister, and they have some nice banter going on between each other. And they'll probably have much bigger roles in future seasons.
What's this?
I don't know. What?
The shortest mountain.
So now I'm not even sure you got the original joke.
I'm pretty sure one of them will turn evil and one of them will become good. Like they'll split. They'll have to choose a side. My money's on Claudia being evil and Soren being on the good side. I don't really have any specific reasons. I just believe that like Soren has a sense of loyalty, and I'm pretty sure that will come to play when they'll eventually have to choose sides. I mean, that's just a theory. Maybe they don't even have to choose sides. Maybe they both become evil, but that's just my thoughts on the situation.
Grab him. But he's the prince.
Do it!
Next up, we have General Amaya, Callum and Ezrin's aunt, I think from their mother's side. And she's a really interesting character because she's deaf. I don't know if she's mute because she doesn't talk in the show. She uses sign language, but I know it's hard for deaf people to talk. So I know she's deaf. I don't want to say she's mute though. But she seems like a really strong character. You don't really see much of her background or like her purpose or her motivations. But she seems genuinely good. She's also one of the only people that's able to see through Viren's manipulative skills. And she calls it like what it is. She has good motives. She has good intentions.
Breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
And I feel like she's going to be the one or the main person that stands against Viren in future seasons. Next up, we got Runan, I don't know how to pronounce it, who is a Moonshadow elf like Rayla, and I think is one of her mentors. He doesn't have much to offer this season, but I believe he'll play a really big role in later seasons. So I'm just going to skip over his character for now. But I believe even though he didn't have much to do, the show does a really good job of showing how much of a badass he is. So I guess that's good. And we'll see what his character becomes in later seasons. And finally, to wrap up the characters, you got the best character in television history. My main man, Commander Gren. The greatest alive. He is a translator for General Amaya. All he does this season is get captured and get ignored by Viren. But I believe that he will become the clutchest character in the series, even more clutch than Bait. Mark my words.
Excuse me. I would love to try some Zadian fruit. Very good.
And that sums up all the main and secondary characters. And I think the show does a very good job of setting up these characters and giving them different personalities and different motivations. And it's going to be fun to watch these characters grow as the series progresses. One of the main critiques of the show is the animation and the animation style. Me personally, I found it weird during the first 3 episodes when I was watching it, but I grew used to it, and upon rewatch, it actually had no effect on me. I was just completely accustomed to the animation. And for the animation style, I thought the animation style was pretty good. It just, the frame rate was kind of choppy, and some scenes really showed that, and it was kind of annoying because you couldn't get past the frame rate. But when you have shots like this, or shots like this, then it's kind of hard to complain about the animation style, because it does make the environment look very vivid and beautiful. So my main issues are with the frame rate. The animation style, however, does get a pass for me. So hopefully they fix up the frame rate in later seasons. I heard they did it purposely. I don't know why they would, but hopefully it's fixed up later. I thought the soundtrack for the show was very well done. There aren't any standout themes or specific soundtracks, except for the one in the beginning of episode 3. I'll just show you a clip. Now, I thought the music was very fitting for the fantasy element of the show, and hopefully there's some more memorable tracks later on in the show. But overall, I thought the soundtrack was pretty good. It was pretty fitting for season 1 specifically. Last couple of things I want to touch on. I know this review is getting a bit long, but I'm just going to go over some things rapid fire. I thought the voice acting was great. I thought the writers paid good attention to detail. You see that when in one of the first episodes, Rayla is scared of the water when she's trying to climb up the kingdom or the castle. And lastly, I thought the dialogue was a bit corny. I know it's a kid's show. Some jokes kind of fell flat, but other than that, there were some good comedic moments, and overall, the dialogue was still pretty good. So that's my final thoughts on it. And on that note, I think that wraps up my discussion and my thoughts around Dragon Prince. I initially wasn't going to give it a final score. I wasn't really going to review. I was just going to give like my own thoughts and my own thoughts. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. But yeah, initially wasn't going to review it, but I think I shall. And I'm not going to give it a number rating. I'm not going to give it a letter rating. I figured out a valid and relatable rating system based on my channel. Since I'm a gamer and I play League a lot, I will use a tier rating, like bronze being the lowest. Maybe I'll have a wood rating. And I don't know what the highest tier is. I think it's challenger. I'm not good, so I only know bronze. But yeah, that's going to be my rating system, and I will give Dragon Prince Season 1 a diamond tier rating. Dragon Prince Season 1 did a really good job setting up the story and setting up the characters. Each individual character was very unique. They had nice motivations. They had interesting motivations. And even though the animation style or like the frames were a bit choppy and there were some corny moments, overall the dialogue was pretty good. There were some good one-liners. There were some good comedic moments. And the story and characters really set up the potential for the future of Dragon Prince. So yeah, that concludes my thoughts and discussion about Season 1 of Dragon Prince. I hope you enjoyed. I feel like nobody's going to end up watching this, but I don't really care. I just did it just cause. So yay! Hopefully you guys had a very insightful experience listening to me talk. If you didn't, then just don't say anything and pretend like this video never existed. And if for some reason you're watching this video without watching Dragon Prince, go watch it right now. It is worthwhile, and I hope you enjoy it. And that's it. Check out my channel. I do bad in games. That's pretty much my channel. I will post more gaming videos. I might do some more like of these thoughts and discussions about different shows. So yeah, goodbye forever. Until the next time.